Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
Some people's homes becoming personal COVID-19 vaccination sites. Tonight, we get a look inside and visit with the seniors who are able to get these much-needed shots.
And two major school districts making graduation announcements. The San Antonio seniors that will be able to get back to a more traditional ceremony coming up. But first, the number of unaccompanied children housed at the Expo Hall at Freeman Coliseum doubling. Commissioner Justin Rodriguez says 500 more children were brought to the intake shelter yesterday. That now amounts to a total of 1,000 teens being housed, which is nearly half of the capacity for that facility. There's a possibility more may need to be housed there.
Nonprofits have stepped in to help, and now local students are helping as well. Clark High School students are gathering donations for the children housed at Freeman. Tiffany Huertas spoke to the students about why they decided to help.
I feel compassion, and I just feel such an urge and responsibility as an American citizen to do all I can to help them.
Clark High School students Jacob Hasida and Rachel McLaren feel connected to the migrant children at the Freeman Coliseum's Expo Center.
I'm the child of two immigrant parents from the Philippines, so I understand the importance of having a welcoming community towards the immigrants so they feel wanted and included.
My parents are immigrants as well. I know a lot of people have immigrants in their family and are directly affected by immigration.
The migrant children are being housed here while they await to be reunited with sponsors or family members.
It's almost the simplest things that do really comfort people.
Students with the Spanish National Honor Society at Clark High School are working closely with the nonprofit Students of Service to collect donations and letters for the migrant children, but that's not all.
Toothbrush, toothpaste, basic clothing like socks, and we're also looking for entertainment items such as soccer balls, board games.
We want them to feel less stress and less anxiety about the whole process.
As more children make their way to San Antonio,
Have compassion and empathy for them. I think this issue or this problem that we're having should not be viewed as a political problem, but as a humanitarian problem.
this facility is expected to house as many as 2,400 people. Several organizations like Catholic Charities are still seeking volunteers and donations. To learn more about their effort and about this new project, head over to KSAT.com. Reporting from the Freeman Coliseum, Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Tiffany, and big thank you to those students. More unaccompanied children are coming to Military City, USA. A week after the Pentagon approved Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland for the housing effort, we have now learned up to 200 children will be coming next week. The news coming from City Manager Eric Walsh. The children will be housed in a vacant dormitory on base where they will be under the care of Health and Human Services. An update from the border tonight, social media and the border. Governor Greg Abbott saying smugglers are using the online tool to help in their operations.
In a press conference today, Governor Greg Abbott cited content posted to TikTok.
These are two pictures from TikTok. And these are ads or videos and things that are being run by cartels on TikTok trying to recruit people in Texas to assist them commit their crime.
Abbott also giving an update on the last 28 days of Operation Lone Star, which has brought more manpower to the border. Abbott says the Texas Department of Public Safety made 598 criminal arrests.
14 pounds of cocaine seized along with 23 firearms and millions of dollars. We first showed you the operation last month as we rode along with the team on a boat patrolling the river in the Rio Grande Valley. Along with the arrests, the state also says DPS troopers made more than 16,000 referrals of people crossing the border to Border Patrol.
Well, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle bringing up issues they want addressed. Some are referred to as push and pull factors. Crime and poverty are two things pushing migrants to leave their countries, while others argue stricter consequences are needed for those who cross the border illegally. Republican Senator John Cornyn addressed the border issue during a visit to the San Antonio Food Bank. He acknowledged some investment in Central America is needed to help people there feel safe. But he also says that's only part of the answer.
And we can't do something for them that they don't want to do for themselves. We can help them, but we can't do it for them. But when I was in Del Rio, the Del Rio sector a couple of weeks ago, you may be surprised to learn that the Border Patrol chief said they had detained people from 54 different countries. So this isn't just strictly a Central American phenomenon or a Mexican phenomenon.
Meantime, Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar toured the border in Laredo. He says that sector sees more single adults from Mexico crossing the border and more people from Central America crossing through the Rio Grande Valley. He says only 12% of those immigrants actually get to stay in the U.S. after pleading their case to a judge, and argued that investment into other countries has advantages.
We have seen some progress by the monies that we invested. I mean, look at Guatemala. Their crime is 15 murders per 100,000. I'll mention one city, Chicago. They're the same.
Congressman Cuellar also agrees those countries need to be asked to do more. He offered an idea of creating safe havens to allow people to seek asylum there instead of having to possibly pay smugglers to get them to the border. Both Cornyn and Cuellar agree on the seasonal rise in crossings that have been going on for years. They expect to see more people cross the border before the summer heat sets in. And a reminder, you can follow all of our coverage on the border at KSAT.com. Just type in KSAT.com/border.
Bexar County moving past a milestone in the vaccine rollout today. We are now past the 500,000 mark when it comes to people who have at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Nearly 295,000 people are fully vaccinated as we speak. Metro Health today mentioning some children younger than 16 are getting in line for the vaccine, but they're not eligible yet. Dr. Anita Kurian admitting they don't take an ID when it comes to getting vaccinated at their sites, saying some children under 16 have received the vaccine. She did say when a child who is visibly under the eligible age limit is seen, they are pulled aside out of line. These younger children are taking doses away from people who are eligible to receive them.
Well, now to an update on the pandemic here at home. 249 new COVID-19 cases reported today, along with 2 deaths. Meanwhile, another decline in our hospitals. 185 COVID-19 patients are in the hospital, 74 are in the ICU, and 32 are on ventilators. To keep these numbers low, Metro Health reminds you to continue to keep safety measures in place as the Easter holiday approaches.
After a year of distance learning, masks in schools, canceled graduations, some high school seniors will have a traditional graduation after all. The Night Team's Jonathan Cotto with precautions that 2 major school districts are taking to ensure safety for all.
The pandemic changing the way the class of 2020 celebrated the end of their high school careers. A different approach to pomp and circumstance than what was accustomed by faculty and students alike.
We were only safely able to move each student through the auditorium, just the student by themselves with their family. No one got to sit down or do any of that, so we walked them through the process.
This year, the senior class of 2021 in Northside ISD will have more of a familiar graduation setting to look forward to at the Alamo Dome. Students have had to deal with changes in their learning environment, but as teenagers, some say the toughest part was being socially distant.
It's just gonna be so crazy seeing everybody else that you didn't get to see this year, especially during the pandemic.
Emily says she didn't think they'd have a graduation. She says finishing high school is simply more than enough given the circumstances.
If I didn't, I would be all right. It's just that if I made it, I made it. I get to move on and go on to colleges and all that stuff, and just to move forward and just live on and be happy.
Some students say graduation is just as important for their families as it is for them.
My mom gets very emotional because I did lose my grandpa to COVID, and she wanted him to experience me graduating and walking the stage. So for her, finding out that I'm actually going to graduate and be able to walk a stage was very exciting. And she did tear up quite a bit.
For NISD, it has been tradition to have graduations at the Alamo Dome. For many students, that tradition will soon be a reality once again.
I'm just so excited to be graduating in the Alamo Dome, like so much of my family had did before.
Safety protocols will be in place at the Dome. Each senior will be receiving 6 tickets. Northeast ISD will be operating the same way. Reporting live from the Alamo Dome, Jonathan Cotto. Steve Isis.
Thank you, Jonathan. Still ahead on the Nightbeat, home vaccinations taking place in Castle Hills. We check in with some of the recipients coming up.
And it's now day 4 in the Derek Chauvin trial in Minnesota. First responders taking the stand today, what they're sharing with the jury. Next on the Nightbeat.
George Floyd, motionless, not breathing, and still had officers on top of him. That's what we are hearing firsthand from first responders who treated Floyd during day 4 of testimony in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Camila Bernal is in Minneapolis with the latest.
He was, limp.
First responders who treated George Floyd testifying Floyd seemed to be gone before they were able to help him.
We did pulse checks multiple times from when we arrived until we arrived at the stateroom at HCMC.
Did anyone ever find a pulse?
No, ma'am.
I suspected this patient to be dead.
Okay.
In lay terms.
Chauvin's former shift supervisor then testifying he responded to the scene and then went to the hospital where Floyd was taken.
What did the nurse tell you? That he was doing bad or poorly.
And not long after,
someone approached me and let me know that he passed away.
Never before seen body cam video showing Chauvin explaining in a call to his supervisor his account of what happened with Floyd. Initially, not mentioning he used his knee on Floyd's neck.
But we just had to hold the guy down. He was going crazy.
The former supervisor testifying the restraint used against Floyd was a commonly used technique.
For handcuffing somebody in a prone position or fighting with someone, it could happen where your knee ends up on their neck.
But also saying that it should have never lasted for as long as it did.
When Mr. Floyd was no longer offering up any resistance to the officers, they could have ended the restraint.
In Minneapolis, I'm Camila Bernal.
All right, take a look at this. Home vaccinations taking place at some homes in Castle Hills today. Today kicked off an effort to get vaccines to the most vulnerable homebound seniors. Norma Lands is 100 years old and says she wasn't afraid, but happy to get the shot.
When you're 100, you've had 1,000,000 shots. I think it's wonderful, and I feel very privileged.
There was also another home visit we were able to follow. Marion Smith and her husband say they've been trying different avenues to try and get a shot. They didn't have any luck until today. Mrs. Smith called today's visit a great kindness and a special gift.
I can't believe they would go to the trouble to do this. It's wonderful for us because we didn't know where we could get a shot.
So it's marvelous, and couldn't be more convenient.
They were all very excited. I mean, it's very humbling to me to know that they are happy that we're inside of their home.
That's Angela DiPaolo with Legends Pharmacy, who partnered with the city of Castle Hills to make this effort happen. The mayor of Castle Hills says they are working to fill their list of people who are in need of the vaccine.
Some great news there. Meantime, let's take a live look outside with live cam. Easter weekend is upon us with Good Friday tomorrow. And the temperatures, Adam, how are they going to look?
Oh, hasn't it been beautiful?
Yes.
I would love to extend this through Christmas. It's going to be,
I'll take it. I'll take this through Christmas.
I'm fine with that.
You know, birth, risen.
Yeah, got it.
Yes, that would be nice. Right, it would, temperature-wise. But if we could just extend this through the Easter weekend, that would be nice. We will see some changes, though, as we get into the weekend, and it's going to be some dampness. But I think the clouds will just really be taunting us more than anything. So a cool start to the day tomorrow, then another beautiful afternoon. So let's start with temperatures and talk about what's happening out there. I have to show this to you because we had such a beautiful day, and we capped it off with a great sunset over the Alamo City. 50 this morning. That was here in San Antonio, but the hill country was down in the mid-30s. Then we topped out at 71 for the high temperature. Right now, across the Lone Star State, a mixture of basically 50s and 60s. Amarillo an exception at 47, Dallas 57, Junction 58, Del Rio 67, Alpine right now at 54. And you get down here into South Texas, Pleasanton 66, Cotulla 67, pretty comfortable. But these numbers are falling quickly with our clear sky, our calm wind, and dry air. Dew points right now down in the 20s, so very dry air, and you don't feel any stickiness out there. So fast forward to tomorrow morning. A bit of a chill in the air. We're talking temperatures mostly in the mid 40s. 44 Victoria, 44 Uvalde. Kerrville and Fredericksburg closer to 40 degrees, even down into the 30s as you get into Junction. New Braunfels 42, Lake Hills, Bernie, Timberwood Park about 41, and Elmendorf 44. So long sleeves in the morning, but by the afternoon it's more of the same. A lot of sunshine, comfortable, low 70s, and low humidity. Now those morning readings will be climbing a little bit in the days ahead. Tomorrow, a bit of a chill. We'll be running well below average for this time of year. But once we get into the weekend, Sunday morning, back into the upper 50s to near 60. And then next week when the humidity returns, which has a big impact on our morning temperatures, the humidity, we're looking at low to mid 60s for morning readings. So big changes on the way, especially by this time next week in terms of temperatures. All right, here's our overall weather pattern. Look at this. It's not an April Fool's joke. That blue is snow, widespread snow falling across parts of the Great Lakes and even New England. Around here, we don't have any moisture over Texas, but there's some coming on shore. With this upper level disturbance, you see the moisture moving toward Las Vegas and Phoenix. That's the system that's going to affect us this weekend. And it's not going to be all that well organized. It's not going to be put together very well. It's going to be kind of disheveled, but it moves in on Saturday, lingers through Sunday, and then moves out early next week. So let's go to the Futurecast. Saturday morning, 8 a.m., low clouds. It's going to provide plenty of cloud cover for us, and mainly just a few light showers or even sprinkles dotting the landscape. You see by 5 p.m., just a few hit or miss, very light showers. And even Saturday night into Sunday morning, we'll probably have some hit or miss light showers or sprinkles. And overall, where we do get that moisture, unfortunately, we don't anticipate anything more than a few hundredths of an inch. If you're lucky, you could see a tenth of an inch through Sunday morning, but I think that would be the exception. Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, a little damp there in the morning, mainly from drizzle and a few sprinkles. Of course, we'll take all the rain we could get. We could use it. Here's the latest drought monitor, updated every Thursday. You go south of San Antonio, and that's where it's the worst situation. Extreme drought, basically from Goliad to Beeville over to Cotulla. Down into Webb County, that's when it gets into the exceptional range and even parts of West Texas in an exceptional drought. So tomorrow, partly cloudy, 46 in the morning, 72 by the afternoon. Comfortable, low humidity, a beautiful day, a gentle breeze out of the southeast. And then this weekend, comfortable temperatures. I mean, afternoons in the 60s to low 70s. But next week by this time, we'll be flirting with 90 degrees. It's that time of year.
Hard to believe it. All right. Thanks so much, Adam.
All right, when I left, it was in regulation. I was watching the Spurs, a back and forth game. Still a back and forth game.
You know what's interesting? As if this schedule wasn't hard enough already, now tonight in the second game of back-to-backs and the third game in the last 4 nights, they've gone to double overtime. When we come back, can the Spurs pull this one out of the fire against the Atlanta Hawks? We will show you. Plus, the Valero Texas Open tees off. Who has the early lead? Coming up. The Spurs with another set of back-to-back games tonight. DeMar shaking hands with the Hawks as they prepare for their second game in as many nice 3 in the last 4. Derek White gets the Spurs going from beyond the arc with a pair of early threes. The Spurs on top 14-13. The Mustang Keldon Johnson lights it up from downtown, and the Spurs have a 4-point edge. But the Hawks in the first quarter with a bang. Atlanta goes on a 17-3 run, punctuated by Brandon Goodwin's buzzer beater from 37 feet out. Hawks up 10 after 1. Spurs turn up the defense. Rudy Gay knocks the ball away. Patty Mills scoops it up, lobs it back to Gay for the dunk. Spurs cut the Hawks lead down to 2. DeMar DeRozan using the screen from Jakob Poeltl to go baseline for the slam, but the Spurs were still down 6 to the break. In fact, this game has now gone into its second overtime. The first overtime was tied at 119 all. Now, with just seconds left, a little over 11 seconds left, the Hawks are leading the Spurs 133-129. We'll try and get those second half and overtime highlights to you a little bit later on. Next up, the Pacers come calling on Saturday. Note the late tip time, 8 p.m. The Texas Longhorns have hired former Texas Tech head coach Chris Beard to be their new head basketball coach, replacing Shaka Smart, who took the job at Marquette after calls for his firing and they're losing in the NCAA tournament in the first round for the third time. In fact, this is Beard arriving in Austin late this afternoon. Beard, who led the Red Raiders to the national championship game in 2019 and to the Elite Eight in 2018, was a student assistant coach at Texas under Tom Penders. He led Texas Tech to a 112-55 record in 5 seasons in Lubbock and was named Coach of the Year in 2019 after guiding Texas Tech to a 31-7 finish. He made up his mind earlier today and informed Texas Tech Athletic Director Kirby Hocutt he was headed to Texas. As part of the NCAA women's basketball tournament and Final Four being hosted by San Antonio this year in conjunction with Nancy Lieberman Charities and San Antonio Sports, today the Hall of Famer unveiled a new basketball court on the city's east side by hanging nets at the Boys and Girls Club, and then Lieberman decided herself to play a little hoops.
I have a lot of family in San Antonio, and to be able to come back and do something for the community and the kids means a lot to me personally.
Hall of Fame basketball coach Roy Williams announced his retirement today at the age of 70, leaving behind a legacy that includes 3 national championships and more than 900 wins over 33 seasons at 2 of the most prestigious college basketball programs in the country, Kansas and most recently North Carolina. The Valero Texas Open tees off and is opening day for Major League Baseball. Next. Get up in the second half now. Derek White going up all he can. The Spurs within striking distance. The 3 ties his career high with 5 in a game. Then this one is number 6 on the night for a new career high, and the Spurs are within 4. Then DeMar DeRozan going to the rim, gets fouled, loses the ball, but somehow manages to flip it up and in for the 3-point play. Spurs down 4 going into the 4th. White's hot hand continues as he knocks down his 7th 3 on the night, and the Spurs are only down 1. 20 seconds to go now. Hawks up 4. White poking the ball away. Spurs on the run. Now Murray goes on the attack for the bucket and is fouled, and it's a 1-point game with 15 seconds to go. Spurs with the ball down 2. They give it to DeMar for the final shot, and he delivers. The jumper in the lane ties the game at 110. We're headed to overtime. Now, after the first overtime, we're still tied at 119. Second overtime, Spurs had no answer for Trae Young. First, the 3 extends the Hawks lead to 4, then going right to the hoop for the layup. And that final score again, 134 to 129. Spurs fall in double overtime. Gusty conditions greeted the field of the Valero Texas Open, marking its return to the J.W. Merritt TPC Resort Course after the COVID canceled last year's event. And your early clubhouse leader was former Masters U.S. Open and Open champion Jordan Spieth, who was able to tame the front 9 and shoot a 567. It stood until late in the afternoon. Phil Mickelson, making his return to San Antonio, probably wish he had not. He struggled most of the day, but it was capped off by his worst hole on 18. He put his 2nd shot into the creek, his 4th shot 2, his 6th and 7th shot hit the same rock, then his ball rolled back into the creek. He would finish with a 10 or quintuple bogey on the hole. But making the late charge today is Camilo Villegas, who made 4 straight birdies on the back 9. He would take the lead at 7 under here on 14. Let's take a look at that leaderboard. You can see he added another birdie to have a 2-stroke lead going to tomorrow's 2nd round. Now, some other favorites will be following as well to see how they do. Jimmy Walker, of course, from San Antonio now. Terrell Hills, even at 72. Tony Finau at 73, 1 over. Ricky Fowler at 4 over. And there you see Phil Mickelson at 7 over. It's opening day in Major League Baseball for the Texas Rangers. They started the season on the road in Kansas City, and they got off to a hot start. Nate Lowe doubles to left. He's able to clear the bases, and the Rangers are going up 4-0 just like that. Eli White follows that up with a single to center to drive in yet another run, and the Rangers go up 5-0. This all happening in the 1st. But the Royals rally. Bases loaded for Michael Taylor, and he comes through with the RBI single up the middle, and the Royals never look back as they go on to score the most runs in franchise history on an opening day. Let's check that final for you, and we'll update the Astros score as well. That's now in the 4th inning. You see the Royals leading the Rangers. That is a final, I should say, 14-10. So a very active day. Sorry for the Spurs, but that's a tough to rebound when back-to-back games you go to 2 overtime.
Double overtime.
That's crazy. Yeah.
They're going to be tired even on Saturday.
Sure will be.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back. We'll take a look at this. It's the first hug in over a year for a Kansas City mother and daughter due to the pandemic. 84-year-old Anna Marie Timmons, who's also a Holocaust survivor, says it was very hard to be locked away from the world for so long. She says after her vaccination, getting out feels like a new life. Next up, she says she wants to play her harmonica for kids at the park.
That's a scene being repeated over and over across